Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After running through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer Dolphins fans' questions. And we have a lot to talk about on today's show. Probably the worst loss I've watched since the disappointing ending to the 2013 season. Plus, we're coming off a bitter ending to the 2020 season, which had a ton of promise. It was our first 10-win year since 2016. Obviously, we were looking good. We had a good year, and then it ended poorly to the same team that we just lost to today, which was just really sickening to watch as a fan. You know, Sean McDermott is 7-1, I believe, since he's become the Buffalo's head coach. Brian Flores has yet to beat Buffalo since he's been here. The closest he's ever been to beating them was obviously his first year here in 2019, which was actually on the road, which is hard to believe. So we have a lot to talk about what happened to the, obviously Sunday with the 35-0 loss, but let's start with the news you need to know about. This first news story comes from Tom Pelissero of NFL Network, and he had a tweet today that said, Tua is in a lot of pain, but the test results, the x-rays came back negative. NBC Sports also reported the same thing, that the x-rays came back negative. Further testing from the NBC report reports that further testing will be done Monday. So I'm sure you guys will hear more about that Monday. But I wanted to get this out to you Monday morning because I want to get these out Monday morning after the game for you guys. So look out for that. Look out for more Tua news. I think we're all going to be kind of glued to the TV when it comes to that, or our phones or whatever the heck you're using. This next news story comes from NBC Sports as well. And this is more of a opinion piece. It was said at the halftime show of the Sunday night game where Mike Florio said, watch out for the Deshaun Watson rumors to kind of resurface if the Tua injury is serious. So I just threw that one in there just so you guys know to, I guess, look out for that stuff. Even if Tua misses the rest of the year, unfortunately, I think you're going to have to deal with Jacoby Brissett for the rest of the year. Are my thoughts on the whole Deshaun Watson thing if Tua is hurt for the rest of the year, which is unfortunate. I really don't see them making that trade, even though it would be the right thing to do. I don't think you can throw away an entire season like that. And I think obviously it would make the team better. Obviously, you're taking a huge risk with the off-the-field issues. Even if they went out to go and sign Cam Newton, and a lot of people probably are listening to this like, what are you talking about? He was cut by the Patriots. I can promise you this, from what we saw, and it was not all Jacoby's fault. I'm not blaming it all on Jacoby, but there was a few plays where I was like, okay, if the offensive line is going to play like this for the rest of the year, then Jacoby cannot be the quarterback of this team, because he likes to hold on to the ball longer than Tua, and he's not so great at the quick pass game. He's more intermediate, deep type of a quarterback. He likes to hold on to the ball. He's not super accurate on some of the quick game stuff. We saw that on a couple of screens he threw. The ball was behind the receivers, and like I said, he likes to hold on to the ball, so if the offensive line is going to play like they will, and he's not tremendously mobile, where he's going to make a big play every single time. He's going to get hit a lot. We're going to take a lot of sacks. So maybe you want to go out and get someone like Cam Newton who's a little bit more mobile, or Deshaun Watson who can make an offensive line look better than it actually does. Is the best thing I can. That's just my opinion. I'm sure people will disagree with that, but Tua definitely needs to get back healthy, because the thing that Tua can do is his pocket is better than Jacoby's, and his accuracy is better. And he can get rid of the ball quicker. And he makes faster decisions. So it does help mask the offensive line. Jacoby actually makes things worse. And I don't want to hate on Jacoby. But and I'm not saying the offensive line is good, because we're going to get to that here in a second. But especially going back and rewatching the New England game, this offensive line is off to a really, really, like, it rivals 2013. It's off to a really rough start. So the Dolphins are going to have to figure out the quarterback situation. So if it is Deshaun Watson, if it is Cam Newton, I think those are better alternatives to Jacoby Brissett. I think you can build around a little bit more of a creative game plan, but we'll see. Maybe they can fix the offensive line issues. I don't know how they'll do that. Maybe even Jacoby kind of alluded to it in his press conference where he was like, the game plan really wasn't set to what I do well. He said that, so maybe they can correct some things, maybe move some people around. Obviously, the game plan will be different with Jacoby being in there, but they have to fix the issue, and hopefully they can do that. So, yeah, that's it for the news. Really, there's no other news story. So before we answer fans' questions, I know we're only 6 minutes. Let's just run down the abysmal 35-0 shellacking that was absolutely disgraceful on Sunday, especially as a fan. And to put things into context, which I don't have to for Dolphins fans, and everybody who's listening to this is obviously a Dolphins fan, but the thing that hurts the most about this, and people talked about it right after the game, is the idea of closing the gap and having an opportunity to really kind of take a huge step into the spotlight. Hey, we're here, we're the real deal. We're coming off a big win in New England, which is really hard to do. And it's like, wow, it was basically just a rerun of last year. And it sucks as a fan because it's like, does nothing change? It sucks every year seeing the same result. It's like walking through a path that's in a circle and you always end up in the same place. It's mad. It's crazy, dude. You want to throw yourself through a window. That's what makes this so annoying. It's like, how do we not... and the reasons we lose to this team are the same every time. Every single time. Like, if I go through all the videos I've done over the last few years, every Buffalo game I've covered that we've lost, it's the same reasons we lose every single time. And that's what's frustrating. This coaching staff is too good for that. Brian is too good for that. I will say this. This is by far the best defense, and I think that's what we'll start. We'll start with the defense. The defensive game plan was awesome, and I thought the defensive players were more prepared for Buffalo and what they wanted to do. I thought the run defense for the most of the game, until the game got out of hand, was really good. Obviously, they had that one big play to Singletary early on, but after that, I thought the defense played really well. They were at one point 3 for 9 on third down. If you look at Josh Allen's stats, he only had 179 through the air, and most of that came in the fourth quarter. He was 17 for 33. He had 2 touchdowns to 1 interception, which would have been a lot less if the game was more competitive. Singletary and Zach Moss both combined for 100 rushing yards. But again, if the offense could have given the defense anything, those numbers would have been a lot less. They held Stephon Diggs to 4 catches on 60 yards. So this defense played really well. I love the effort that they played with. I thought they had a great effort. They didn't get off to the best start, but for the most part, when you statistically and even just watching the game, they played good enough against a good Buffalo offense, which that's the best part of their team, is their offense. And to hold Josh Allen under 200 yards passing, to hold Stephon Diggs under 100 yards rushing, and they pretty much couldn't do anything from the second quarter on until the game just got so far out of hand, it was ridiculous. It seemed like the game was 14-0 forever because we had so many opportunities to get back in the game, and they just never could do it. But I thought the defense played well enough. I mean, it wasn't all perfect, but for the most part, it was as good as it's really going to get against an offense like that. It's just disappointed we didn't. And that's what makes this even more disappointing is we didn't take advantage of that. And usually, a Brian Flores team doesn't turn the ball over as much as the other team because this defense not only picked off Josh Allen, held him to at one point late in the game, 3 for 9 on third downs, and they had a fumble recovery. You would think that this team would have taken advantage of that, but they didn't. So let's get into the offensive side of the football, which was god-awful. And I want to start here. Now, I want to get through the offensive line really quickly because that's all that everybody can talk about. And I want to take back what I said earlier in the previous video. I said the offensive line wasn't as bad as people made it out to be after the last game. After going back and watching the All-22 film of that game, it was pretty abysmal. The pass protection was not good. There were times where the Patriots rushed 3, and it was like they rushed 6. And that's not good. And in this game, it continued. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, A.J. Epinesa had his way with Jesse Davis. And it wasn't even like... It was bad. It wasn't even like, oh, that was a bad performance. It was like an all-time bad performance. It was like Dallas Thomas, Billy Turner bad. The fourth down play where Epinesa just came in free is unacceptable. That's unacceptable. That should never happen. And it consistently continued to happen where not only could this offensive line not block a 4-man rush, but they couldn't pick up a protection to save their life. And to hear the excuse after the game that we have to watch the film to see what happened, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if they think we're a bunch of koala bears that don't understand what's going on and can't look at things with our own eyes. But tell me if I'm wrong. Do they not watch film on their iPad after every drive? Am I not wrong about that? Do they not do that? Do they not watch film at halftime and make halftime adjustments? So you can't sit here and tell me that you guys don't know what went wrong. I hate when people do that. And you know what? We're not going to get any answers Monday either. After a game like this, the fans deserved a straight answer. They really did. Why was the pass protection so poor? All we heard about in these press conferences after the game is they were well prepared. Okay, well, one thing we do know for a fact is the offensive line was not well prepared. They were quite the opposite. Like I said, not only could this team not block a 4-man rush, but they couldn't pick up a blitz. And that has been a pattern, ladies and gentlemen, every game we've played against Buffalo since Brian has been here. That has been a problem. We cannot pick up their blitz. Okay? So that was one half of the issue. The other half of the issue is these receivers have to play better. Some of the effort on these routes was disgusting to watch. I'm surprised someone didn't pull them aside and say, what are you guys doing? Not only were there drops, and to me that was bad effort, but a lot of the times the receivers didn't finish the route because they didn't think the offensive line could hold up long enough. And I'm being dead serious. The perfect example of this is when Devontae Parker dropped the touchdown. Watch his route at the start. He doesn't give any effort. Even if the ball isn't going his way, push the guy up the field. He doesn't even do that. It was an awful route. Jacoby escapes the pocket. And then he decides, oh, the play is still happening. Let me finally do something. And then, of course, he drops the touchdown anyway. Don't let me even get into Jakeem Grant fumbling the ball for the umpteenth time at receiver, who continues to be one of the all-time worst Dolphins receivers ever. Between his drops and fumbles, I don't want to see him play receiver anymore. And his terrible route running. But Mike Gesicki is also guilty of this. Okay? They're all guilty of it. Their effort was not good enough. They need to give more effort. It was like, they didn't even believe in the offensive line. That's how sad it was. It was really, really tough to watch, guys. It was really tough to watch. I mean, my head, my face was in my hands most of the game. Like, I had a migraine watching this game. They couldn't make any adjustments at all, ever. To be honest with you, their only adjustment to their blitz was the quick passing game. And when Jacoby got in the game, he couldn't make a quick enough decision. He was stuck on one read. It was like he didn't know the game plan. And it's not all on him because the pass protection was so poor. I don't care who was in there at quarterback, it was going to be a problem. So it's not all his fault, but he is not clean hands out of this at all. Trust me. One thing I will say in terms of the game plan for this game is this is a very RPO heavy offense so far that we've seen. In New England, all of our big plays were off of RPOs. So maybe they didn't feel comfortable doing it as much with Jacoby. But nonetheless, the game plan was trash. And you want to talk about not having a team prepared. How can you sit and... I love Brian. I love he is my favorite thing that's happened to this organization in a long time. Okay? But how can you sit up there and say that this team... Maybe they were prepared. Maybe the offensive line is just that stupid and aren't listening and are just that untalented. Maybe that's what it is. And that falls on Chris Greer. Okay? It does. It really does. If that's the case, then that's on Chris Greer. It's not on Brian. The defensive game plan was awesome. Josh Boyer and Brian, they did their job. The drafting and the acquiring of talent on defense has been good enough, especially to be a playoff team. It's the offensive side of the ball that makes me want to throw up. It's just unacceptable. I just don't know how that happens. And again, we've played these same players played this Bills team last year. And it's not like they've changed anything since then. And this Bills defense isn't that good. It really isn't. And you guys will continue to see that for the rest of the year. It's not that good. We literally make them look like the 2000 Ravens, for God's sakes. They like smothering us, dude. So I just want to break down, because I just want to make things clear what I have a problem with. The offensive line is a preschool offensive line as of right now. They have to get it together. They have to figure it out. And not only in their blocking like a four-man rush, just their understanding of how to pick up a blitz. It literally seemed like they've never seen a blitz in their life in this game. The other thing is, these receivers have to play better. Okay? They have to give better effort. The route combinations need to be better. When there's no RPOs, we have to get more creative, more motion. Figure something out. Stop running these short routes every play. I mean, everything was short, dude. And I understand the offensive line isn't blocking well. But it wasn't working. They were sitting on it because they knew we couldn't hold the ball. We have to do something else. I almost wanted to throw something through the TV. It was just so frustrating to watch. And I know the coaching staff knows the offensive line isn't where it needs to be right now. But for the love of God, dude. The receivers have to give a better effort, man. They really do. And again, there needs to be more motion, a little bit more creativity outside of the RPOs. And the RPO stuff was creative. I'm not going to lie. It was nice. But standard base offense has to be better. They got to find a way to get Gaskin. Like, they got to... And the thing is the Bills, because the pass rush was winning so good, and they just sat on everything short. We couldn't even run an offense because of the offensive line. And the quarterback play, and I want to hit that before we move on to the fan Q&A. I have to hit on this. And I know I already said this, but this is serious. If Tua cannot come back, Jacoby and this offensive line as a marriage isn't going to work unless they figure out if they have to move people around, maybe move Robert Hunt to tackle. Whatever they have to do, they have to figure that out because Jacoby is not a good match with this offensive line. He holds the ball too long. He doesn't make quick decisions. And he's stuck, and especially in this game, I don't know if it's because he didn't trust the offensive line, but for a lot of the game, he was stuck on one guy. There's a great example of this where he had one receiver to his left, he had three to his right, and he never got off the one receiver to his left. He never looked to the other side of the field, and he had time to. And that was a consistent problem in this game. So Tua needs to come back, or they need to find someone else, or make this somehow get this offensive line to play better. Because this Jacoby thing, if they can fix the offensive line, then I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine. But it's not a good marriage, man, between those two things. It really isn't. It's just so disappointing, man. So disappointing, especially at home. Just it's beyond disappointing. I mean, I cannot believe the offense played like that. And we're too talented at receiver, guys. The talent is there. But you can really see the belief in dude, even our dang receivers didn't believe in the offensive line. I don't care if they're not blocking at all. I need you guys to give me better effort than that. I really do. Y'all got to play better than that. I don't care if they're getting there in under a millisecond at the speed of light. Okay? I don't care. Run her out, for the love of God. It's sickening, waiting all Sunday as fans to watch that is gross. No fan should have to ever see that on the football field. Ever. It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. I expect more from this team. This team is too talented. This isn't the 2019 Dolphins. This isn't the Adam Gase Dolphins. This team should never lose 35-0. Ever. This should fuel them to be better. It should. It better. Because they're better than this. I can't even think of it. Dude, thinking about this game, it gives me a headache. And to play defense like we did and just squander it. Dude, you know what the most disgusting part of it was? Is when we got that pick with Xavier Howard, which was a tremendous play by him. The fact that we didn't get anything out of that made me so mad, dude. It's like the fact that we had to walk to the sideline and look at X in the eye and say, I mean, and that must have been like disheartening. And the fact that the defense could still give good effort the entire game is amazing to me. I don't know where that was on offense, because they never gave up hope. They were yelling at each other. You know who should be yelling at each other is the offense side of the football. That's who should be yelling at each other. I mean, Jason McCourty was down people's. I mean, he was yelling. X was yelling. The defense, Jerome, you could tell they still cared. I couldn't tell that on the offensive side of the ball. They just looked defeated. The only guys that I could say that weren't that way was Jacoby, Myles Gaskin, and Ahmed. That was it. Everyone else pretty much packed it in. I don't know how you can do. I really don't know how you can play like that. I really don't. Especially when all they talked about all week was how last year left a sour taste in their mouth. You think it left a sour taste in your guys' mouth? Unlike you guys, we've been here, some of us, 40 years watching this franchise. You think it lifts a sour taste in your mouth? It's disgusting, dude. I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull up the fan Q&A. It's actually ridiculous, dude. There's not much else to say about what happened in this game because it's pretty simple. We got beat up on the offensive line of the ball. We couldn't pick up any protection at all, dude. Simple stuff, man. The receivers gave awful effort the entire game. I forgot about Waddle. Waddle didn't. Waddle had heart the entire time. Dude, it looked like Albert Wilson was literally at a job he didn't like. And we saw this last week in New England. I want to bring this up too. Because New England rushed 3 a lot and was still able to get consistent pressure, there was a lot of double teams. Obviously, you can do that, especially in man coverage when you have extra people in coverage. Albert Wilson especially. And you know what? Pretty much the entire receiver corps, and except Waddle. When they saw a double team, they pretty much stopped running their route. If I was a receivers coach, I would be livid. Livid. I don't care if you have the entire army of, I don't even know what you want, the Republic, okay, on you. Give better effort than that. I'm and this is sick to say. I can't even believe I'm saying it, but I actually cannot wait to watch the all 22 of this game. And I know that sounds crazy because I would rather not have to, but it was such a bad loss that it's like what, like just to watch. I can't believe it, dude. The best way to describe it, and honestly, it is sickening, man. I wish I watched this game with other Dolphins fans. I really do. Like a crowd of like hardcore fans, just to like. I'm sure we would have all had the same expression on our face, like. Yeah, there's not much else to say, man. Brian's got to get it together. They got to get it together. They got to figure it out. They definitely. There's no way we go with the same starting five after this game. Like, there's no way. They either bench somebody, move people around. And another thing I want to bring up before we get into the fan connect, why was Hunter Long inactive? Why? Why? Why is he? Watching preseason, I don't know. That one is puzzling to me. And not to mention the fact that we have Will Fuller, who is dealing with personal issues. And I don't want to bag on Will Fuller for that, but I mean that's another thing that this team has to worry about now. Now our quarterback is, who knows how long he's going to be out. It sucks, man. Let's get into fan Q&A, where we answer fans' questions. And one thing I want to say, and I know I've already ranted about it a little bit, but I want to rant about it a little bit more because I have to let it out. I have to. The fact that they literally could sit up there and say that to the fans. Listen, if it was any other loss, it doesn't bother me as much. But to lose 35-0 and say we have to watch the film to know what happened out there makes me want to. Oh my god, dude. Like I said, they watched film on the sideline. They watched film at halftime. They watched film for 3+ hours out there. They know exactly what happened. This was the one time where Brian should have called everyone out. Literally everybody. And I don't care if he did it publicly. They deserved it. The fans deserve to be like, yeah, this is who messed up. This is why they messed up. This is why it's a consistent issue. Like, we needed that. We really did. And we definitely didn't need, we have to watch the film to know. We definitely didn't need that. Especially when Austin Jackson got up there and said that. Are you kidding me? What, are you going to watch the film of you get yourself beat? You already know you got beat on every play. You don't need to watch the film to know that. You know what happened. It's just the audacity to sit up there and say that, dude. And I know someone's going to be like, well, you can't say the weaknesses of the team to... so other opponents understand, oh, they can't deal with this protection. They see it on film anyway. They know. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out, to watch the film. They'll watch the film. You can't hide from that. So there is zero excuse not to say anything. There's literally, if you lose 35-0, it should be mandatory. It's just like, how can you say that, man? I wish someone would have had the balls to say that. To say, you guys watched it on the sideline on halftime. What do you mean? You guys know what happened. How about give us a straight answer? Losing 35-0 at home. Okay, let's get into fan Q&A. This first question comes from Harrington. He says, when you hear the coach say we got to fix the necessary problems, what does that exactly mean? For example, how do you fix the O-line in 1 week? Please explain. Well, you can definitely devise, and I hate to say this, but, more max protection stuff. I hate saying this because it's not good. It does not equal good offense, unfortunately, when you have to do stuff like this. The other thing you can do is move the offensive line around. There's a lot of guys that are versatile. Jesse Davis needs to be moved inside. Kick Robert Hunt. Remember the talk about how Robert Hunt's going to be a Pro Bowl guard? Okay, well, he can try to be a Pro Bowl right tackle because we need it. Sorry, my mic cut out. So when you hear Brian say that, they can make adjustments on the offensive line like that. They can kind of tweak it a little bit. This next question comes from SM. He says, should Tua have come back after injury at least to rally his guys? Brady would have. Nobody doubts Tua can play, but to me, his leadership skills are suspect at best. Thoughts? No. First of all, I think when Tua went to the sideline, and I mean, pretty much the entire offense tapped him on the back, was asking him questions of how he was. Even Brian, I think that shows you his leadership, and especially with the receivers. And you saw that when he got hurt. So I disagree with that. I think him getting hurt and you seeing kind of everybody gravitating towards him, and you could tell they genuinely felt bad for him. I think that's leadership. I think everybody loves him. I mean, that's all we've heard. I think that's the thing that Tua's done pretty much the best since he's been here, is kind of ingratiate himself in that locker room, and the guys do like him. And I know everyone's like, oh, he didn't get a team captain sticker. If you guys have watched the Pat McAfee show, and those are guys who have actually been in an NFL locker room, those stickers apparently don't mean that much. So, I mean, take with that what you will, I guess. This next question comes from the gamer. He says, if Tua doesn't show much promise and keeps getting hurt, would you consider drafting a quarterback next season? No, but I would consider drafting an offensive line and signing them. That's another thing. And I'm glad you brought this up. Don't blame Brian and don't blame Tua. If you're going to blame anybody, blame Chris. Okay? He should have been more aggressive with the offensive line. They had so many. They could have gotten David Andrews, Trent Williams in free agency. They could have gotten Corey Linsley, Joe Thuney. I mean, these are all names that were connected to the organization, and they just didn't do any of it. So they need to do that, for sure. This next question comes from Beef. He says, hey, Skaggs, even though I hate to admit this, but now that Tua has an injury, do you think we're contemplating on trading him? The only thing that I could see us contemplating is honestly the Deshaun. I think the only guy that can make the offensive line look better is Deshaun Watson, and maybe Cam Newton could do it. But other than that, I don't know. I don't know. But no, I don't. That's the only way. And maybe if Tua's hurt for the rest of the year, I could see it. They could trade for Deshaun. Maybe that pushes the envelope more. I don't know. I really don't know. But to be honest with you, here's my thoughts on the situation and being realistic in what I think I would do if I was Chris and Brian. I would. If Tua was out for the year, I would definitely explore trades. For maybe Deshaun Watson. To acquire him. If Tua's hurt for a few weeks, I definitely would stand pat, and as much as that sucks to say, but I mean, I think that's probably the right thing to do. And just try to fix the offensive line and win as many games as we can with Jacoby. But I definitely don't want to throw this season away. I think the team is too good in the roster. Other than, I think the offensive line can definitely play better. I don't think they're that bad. I would hope to God not they're that bad. But, they got to switch the lineup around and figure that out too. But I don't know, man. It's such a tough thing to even think about right now. Coming off of a loss like this, you definitely don't want to make any irrational decisions. But if it makes the team better, then you got to do what you got to do. But I wouldn't just trade him because, just because. Like, he would have, if he, especially if he misses the year, they have to consider it. This next question comes from David. He says, well, now what? My question is, how do you even respond from that and be competitive in your division? I'm not sure we have one starting caliber lineman. If you're Flores, what's the first thing you address? I have to look at the first thing I'm doing is screaming at everybody on offense, and I'm rearranging the offensive line because clearly this isn't working. If they have to try Kinley at tackle, which he played a little bit of, Robert Hunt for sure has to be moved to tackle. Austin Jackson might have to be flipped. Maybe we play Hunt at his position now, and just flip him. Maybe Austin will play a little bit better. But they have to rearrange the offensive line. They can't just stay pat there. So that's the first thing I would do. This next question comes from the Gamer. He says, with Tua's injury, I think Watson trade could be more likely. Yes, depending on the severity, I agree with that. This next question comes from Beef. He says, hey, Skaggs, today's loss was unacceptable. How mad are you on how the Dolphins underperformed? That, and who do you believe should take full responsibility for the loss? Or is this a big team loss? Do you think Tua is just as responsible as some fans think? Go ahead and sound off. No, it has nothing to do with Tua. I don't understand why you would think... Why would you even think that? He barely played. And the people blaming it on Brian are so stupid. Dude. What? Dude, how would you... My head wants to explode. The fact that people would want to fire him over this loss. That's so stupid. They just have to look at themselves and say, listen, we didn't pick the right offensive lineman, clearly. And maybe we can fix it, maybe if we move them around. Because we've seen these particular players play better than this. We really have. Like, we just have. So whatever they have to do, but it's not too. It's definitely not too. As out of everybody in the world you can blame, it's definitely not Tua's fault. And the thing that really makes me upset is people blaming Brian. What he's done for this organization is unprecedented. Nobody before him has done that, and the fact that people can turn on him that fast. Was there 15 more games to go? And you want to fire Brian Flores? Are you guys crazy? He's not the one picking the players, by the way. It's Chris Greer. Yes, they can come on some kind of consensus. Anytime that we've heard that it was more of a collaborative pick, those players have turned out to be better. Javon Holland, Raekwon Davis, those are some of the guys that we've heard on that Brian liked a lot. So no, it's not Brian's fault. I think the only thing I could say is I hope Godsey and our offensive line coach and some of those guys aren't as bad as teachers as I think they are. And honestly, if the offensive line is that bad, it just makes me even more sick. But I think out of all of this, I just don't understand the Tua Brian Flores thing. And people are literally going to say to blame Brian is the picking of players. They're not even going to bring up scheme and the leadership and the stability that he's brought to this franchise. No other coach could go to New England and win. It just wouldn't happen. And I promise you this, guys, our defense is still legit. Just watching them, and I think the front's better. I think the pass rush is better. We just have to do a better job of finishing. I mean, one of their 7 points was because, Josh Allen just made a great play and ducked Ogba. I think Sam McGuavin, he's actually had a pretty good start to the year. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. I think the bright side, to be honest with you, is the defense. I think it's still... I love the effort they gave despite how bad the offensive play. I thought the scheme was good. The game plan was good. So, there's still, obviously, super positive things. If they could just figure out the offense... this team's gonna be a playoff team, but it comes down to just fixing the problems up front. And like I said, Tua actually masks a lot of the issues this offensive line has. Because of his pocket, because of his quick decision making, because of his release, because of his accuracy in the quick pass game, it helps out that a lot. And especially his ability to execute the RPO offense. And honestly, his pocket is the main thing that this team is going to miss. Because, he's constantly shuffling, he's constantly moving. And you saw Jacoby today. He can sometimes get caught daydreaming, and what I mean by that is when a quarterback is stuck on one read, they don't move. That's what I call it. It's like daydreaming. You're just like frozen in time. You have to move and move your head, make a read, move in the pocket. You can't just sit there like a statue. Even if you are a pocket passer, that's bad. That's just bad quarterback play. So they're gonna miss that a lot. And like I said, Jacoby's the way he plays the game doesn't fit the way our offensive line is playing right now. This next question comes from the Gamer. He says, thoughts on how Phillips and Holland played. I would have to go back and watch the game. I think some of the guys that did play well. I liked how the McCourty played. Thought he had a good game. X had a good game. Byron had a really good game. Ogba had a good game. I thought Guavin had a few nice moments. Van Ginkel had a few nice moments. John Jenkins had a pretty good game as well. I thought he pretty much dominated his matchup for most of the game. So those are the guys that really kind of stood out to me on defense. But Holland specifically and Phillips, Holland had a really good. Watching the All-22 of last week's game, Holland he had a really, really good game. He looked really good. The thing that amazes me about him is that they trust him to play free safety in a very complex defense, and his explosiveness and his ability to tackle in the open field is special. He's going to be a really good player. And when I say, and here's what I want to, because I'm sure someone's going to say this, he's like, oh, he said about the film thing that I was ranting earlier, and then I just said I would have to watch the film to... I don't have the All-22. Obviously, I only have the broadcast. They do all the time as the game is going on. They have the All-22 film. We only have the broadcast film, so we can't see individuals as well as they can. So it's a completely different thing. This next question comes from Jackpack18. He says, pathetic. All the talk about Flo being a great coach, but he can't figure out a way to even be competitive against the Bills. This is a problem, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. Well, I do. I definitely can see it changing. I think this team is better than it performed. They have to figure out the offensive line clearly, and I'm sure that they can still do that. I'm not ready to jump ship and give up hope, guys. I really am not. I think I've seen too many things that this team can do special, especially on defense. And when Will Fuller comes back, and please, for the love of God, these guys give better effort. And if our pass protection gets better, and if we can get into any kind of flow in offense, I think that those things will come. But I'm definitely not ready to jump ship yet. I mean, if you guys remember, we started last year terribly. I mean, we didn't get shellacked, but we started better. We lost a few games, but I think we didn't win until week 3 against the Jags. This next question, and we won 10 games, but anyway. This next question comes from Beef. He says, hey, Skaggs, how disappointed are you in the wide receivers? Because if they played well or caught the ball, the Dolphins would not have been shut out. Yes, I agree with that. I mean, that's the thing that makes me upset the most is not only about the drops, but the effort was awful, man. It was just sad. To see so many people stop running sickens me, man. You're in the National Football League. Play like it. This next question comes from Beef. He says, hey, Skaggs, I'm so dumbfounded by this loss. He says, I'm so dumbfounded by this loss. The Miami Dolphins team looked like they didn't have any dignity to play. The only people that shouldn't be blamed is any quarterback that I had to line up behind that horrid offensive line. That entire offensive line have some serious explaining to do, especially Jesse Davis. After watching the game, at least the highlights, I'll be If no one is cut tomorrow, or just some players do not like Tua, or do some players just not like Tua on our team? Um, No, I mean, it was a joke that we said about Tua, but yeah, I mean, the offensive line. I don't know about people. We have to change something about it, and I completely agree with you, Beef. This next question comes from Steve. He says, honestly, I'm seriously doubting Miami is a playoff caliber team after the Buffalo game. The O-line is showing regression instead of progression. I was okay with losing this game as long as they put up a good fight. In my opinion, though, to get shut out at home by your biggest division rival by 35 points with the opportunity to take the division by 2 games because your O-line looks like a group of Girl Scouts that calls for someone's job week 2 or not, O-line coach or none of the O-linemen should be held, the O-line coach and the O-linemen should be held accountable for the embarrassment they displayed on Sunday. I completely agree with that. Something needs to change in that room, and I think for sure it needs to be just switching people, and Jesse needs to be moved inside, especially after that game. He made AJ Epinesa look like Lawrence Taylor. It was disgusting to watch, and they need to figure that out for sure. And I think that's the best way to do it. This next question comes from SM. He says, "Who can Miami grab on the O line this late in the season?" I mean, it'd be hilarious if they got Tunsil back from the Texans. I was trying to think of bad teams with good offensive linemen. They could cherry pick some of those teams if they can find teams that are rebuilding that are willing to kind of deal. I could see that. This next question comes from the gamer. He says, with Davis and Jackson playing horribly, should we bench them next week? I think for sure Davis, and maybe we move Austin Jackson to the other side. We got to change it up. This next question comes from Mark. Man, everybody's on fire today. He says nobody on offense played good, including Tua. Well, he didn't even play, dude. So I don't know what the heck that means. He held the ball too long. No, he didn't. He definitely didn't hold the ball too long. There was no one to throw the football to, and he didn't have time to throw it away because people were just in his face as soon as he snapped the ball. So I completely disagree with that. We need veteran presence on the. Why are people saying this about Tua? We need veteran presence on the line, like maybe 3. Nobody can blame Tua. Obviously, he didn't play the whole game, but you just did. You said nobody on offense played good, including Tua. You just how is Tua not supposed to play better? Okay. Okay. He didn't play the whole game. Personally, I don't feel he fits the team. The organization is still looking for Marino, and I'm not sure the organization knows how to build around him. Aside from desperately needing a line running back and receivers who can catch, it may be time to already move on from Tua before we get him hurt. Or maybe this regime needs to go so we can get Tua some help. Sorry for the long spill, lol. What are your thoughts? Well, I completely disagree with everything you said, Mark, and I'm not saying, I don't want to sound like I'm attacking you, because I'm just mad about the game. I can understand why you said the things you said, I just disagree. The offensive line, I agree with you, but the regime definitely doesn't need to go, and neither does Tua. The receivers are good. I don't know what the heck they're smoking, and why they think they're so good that they can just walk and jog to touchdowns, but that needs to change for sure. This next question comes from SM. He says, does Tua's slow left-handed release bother you? He definitely doesn't have a slow release. This next question comes from Richard. He says, the Dolphins picked the wrong University of Miami defensive lineman. They should have picked Gregory Rousseau instead of Jalen Phillips. The offensive coordinators are using Shane Gailey's playbook. This has a 7-win season like 2009. I hope I'm wrong. I think you're wrong. I mean, the playbook's definitely different. At least I think. They definitely, Chan's RPOs were a little bit more vanilla. I definitely think the offense has changed a little bit for sure. But I disagree with you, Richard. I'm not jumping ship yet. And the whole Jalen Phillips versus Gregory Rousseau. First of all, the fact that Gregory Rousseau had 2 sacks on us is crazy. I cannot believe that he had 2 sacks on us. But I still feel confident that we made the right pick. I think Jalen Phillips, at the end of the day, will be the better player. This next question comes from Last World Productions. He says, up to... Oh, God. This question comes from Last World Productions. Is it time for Greer to go? He's missed on multiple picks, especially the O-line. Now his poor judgment of the situation has gotten to a hurt. This is a good question because it depends on how the season goes. I don't care how the season goes. There's no way you get rid of Flores, but I guess Chris would be the more expendable one. This next question comes from... Holy God. This is a long one. Comes from Last World Productions. He says, this is a rant, but I will end this with a question. So here it goes. Clear as the throat. Okay, let me clear the throat. Brian Flores, yet again, was out-coached by McDermott. Badly, and it wasn't close. There were a lot of questionable play calls and a lot of questionable and just downright idiotic decisions. The O-line was terrible. Like I said in my previous comment, and my case for saying Greer needs to go is simple. I want everyone to understand when you read this out loud, the past 2 years before last, the Dolphins have had 9 picks in the first and second rounds. Out of all those players, the only one who has shown to be something good is Raekwon Davis. Hunt has shown small progression, but nothing to bank on. It's time to call a spade a spade. Herbert is better than Tua. There is no denying that. And I know O-line will be brought up. I just want to remind people that the Chargers O-line last year graded out bottom 3 in the league, and Herbert still performed at a high level. Well, they still only won 7 games, though. And I know that he broke the rookie record for touchdowns, but they also had a way better supporting cast in terms of receivers at the time. And I'm not just saying that Tua is better than Herbert. I never said that. I'm just saying that's true. Those are facts. Playmakers as well. Wait. Herbert still performed at a high level while missing key playmakers as well. Noah Igbenogany. We still had McGuyton, who's a good player. Their offensive line, I would take... Let's just put it this way. I would take the receiver core that they had well over ours, what we had, especially in December last year. Playmakers as well. Noah Igbenogany has been a healthy scratch all year. So far, literally, the guy hasn't even shown enough to dress up for games. Austin Jackson, listen, I don't even have to get into him. So I said all I have to say. This, I've already said, Greer needs to go. You may disagree. I feel differently. That's cool. But this is my question. Flo has now lost to the Bills 5 straight games. The team doesn't seem to be getting any closer to their level or a level of a playoff team in that case than there were last year. How much more time do you believe B-Flow will have to turn this team around? Because he's added multiple players he wanted, got rid of a lot of vets who weren't the best but were proven. So what's the timetable to put up or shut up? Well, I completely disagree with Brian. He's too I personally see too much value in him. To me, it had a lot more to do with personnel than anything. I do think the whole game plan thing with picking up blitzes and stuff is definitely a head scratcher. I don't know what's going on there exactly, but I think people are just kind of quick to forget what all he has done. He was 10-6 last year. He won more games than anybody had any business winning with that roster in 2019. He, by all accounts, that people who have been around the organization for a long time, has completely changed the culture. It's the best ran organization, according to a lot of those people, some say the last 20 years. So, just because this team lost to one game, and I know that they've lost to the Bills in the past, I'm not ready to jump ship on B-Flow. I still think he's a great head coach. I still think he's a great leader. And I think we'll continue to see that. This next question comes from Ahmed. And what was the rest of your question before we move on to Ahmed? Chris is a different... Like I said before, it really kind of depends on how the season goes. Okay, this is we're not gonna be able to get to everybody's question. I'm sorry. Okay, we'll get to this question. We'll get to these two questions as fast as we can. This next question comes from Curtis. He says, "I've been a Dolphins fan for 50 years, 50-year Fin fan. Fireworks in Florida and Miami. I'll say it again this week. How about Chris Greer, or excuse me, how about Chris Sims for GM? Like what we're doing, but no quarterback or O-line. That ain't good. Tua too little, and his smarts and durability are a problem. Team didn't even vote him captain. This is whack. Back to the drawing board. What can we do to beat the Bills?" I disagree with Tua. The offensive line I agree with. Chris Sims is a good man. I love his show. But we'll have to see how the game. Listen, see, it's a long season, guys. We'll see how it ends. If it ends awful, then yes, Chris Greer, I think, is the one that has to would have to take the fall in that situation. Obviously, Tua would have to be looked at hard as well, but that hasn't happened yet. So this next question comes from JackPack18. He says, "O-line looking like hot garbage." Okay, no, sorry. This next question comes from Ahmed. I apologize. He says, "I made multiple comments over the summer about Tua's durability and garbage offensive line being a former for disaster. Comments you scoffed at. I made comments about taking Sewell over Waddle, and that wasn't taken seriously. I made comments, he said, I made comments about a weak linebacker core, Justin Herbert, and Greer's questionable talent evaluation. Of course, that wasn't taken seriously either. Now the season is two games into the season. I already unsubbed and stopped watching your content weeks ago thanks to your inflated ego. But I thought I'd take the time to throw it in your face. Take your viewers' opinion seriously. That is all." Okay, Ahmed. I thought we had some kind of agreement in previous fan Q&As, but I guess we didn't. So what is your question is just to say I'm wrong? And first of all, most of these things he didn't say, he said some super outlandish stuff, dude. Weak linebacker unit. Justin Herbert. First of all, nobody was saying that when Justin Herbert was coming out of college. Okay, maybe you said that after the season was over, but definitely no one was saying that Justin Herbert was better than Tua in that draft class. There was no one saying that. I guess, Ahmed. Cool, man. I don't know why the heck. First of all, you didn't stop. I don't know. You've been commenting on every podcast, dude. Okay, this last question comes to Jack Pack. He says, "O-line looking like hot garbage." And one thing I will say about before we move on, you can't just have blanket statements like that. It's like if we were over in a video together, that's when you say stuff like that. You can't just say it doesn't make any sense, man. I can literally say I'm Godzilla and I can fly at that point. Anyway, this next question comes from JackPack18. He says, "O-line looking like hot garbage. I don't think Greer knows how to evaluate linemen. They're all his guys. Austin Jackson is a liability. This D-line is not much better. Wilkins was a waste of a first-round pick. The man picked Charles Harris. I rest my case." I mean, it depends on how much stock you put into that was his pick over Adam Gase, and Mike Tannenbaum was there at the time. And apparently, according to people around the organization, they had more say than Greer did. But yes, the offensive line needs to definitely be fixed and moved around. Anyway, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. It's a rough game. What can you do? I'm definitely not ready to do abandon ship. It was one bad game. Plus, this team, for some reason, has had our number for the last, before Brian got here. So, it is what it is, guys. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed this episode. And I'll see you guys in the next one.